Well, hello, you crazy kids. It is Sunday. Sunday fun day. What have you been doing today? Well, I stayed up late last night with one of my little monkeys. And as I am a very bad father, we watched a movie that was totally inappropriate for him. But hey, when the wife's away, we all know what the dads get up to, right? Power tools and great movies. So we have watched, I'm not proud of the first one that we watched the other night because it just came up and I put it on and I didn't realize I should have put the first one on, but we watched Predators. It's not really a good movie, but it's okay. Passable. But last night we watched Aliens together. And I would argue that Aliens is a superior movie, barely, because the first one is a masterpiece from the most awesome Ridley Scott, who I know and I've had the pleasure of working with. But I watched Aliens last night, and it is a fantastic movie. And we can talk about that in a bit. But I thought, you know what, it's a classic movie. It's an action movie that you can sit down and watch. And I watched it with my son. And then because, the missus is away, so I was like, you know what, son, you can come and sleep in my bed if you want, you know what I mean, tonight, just in case, just getting a little bit of that, sneaking in a few of those cuddles, before he gets too old. I said, if you want to stay with me, you can. And it was nice. Of course, he slept on the other side of the bed and didn't want anything to do with Dad, but it was just nice. It's just nice. I think those things are really important. You wrestle with your kids, right? You wrestle with your kids a little bit with your young boys, show them the dad power. And then you bond with them over classic movies, and Aliens is one of those. And I'm going to talk about that later on. We can have a little chat about that film. So please remind me to go back to that. But hello, everyone in the chat. I see my regular folks in there. Yeah, you know what, Dana? It's those moments where I look around because my life is so busy. And now I've got the four oldest at home. I looked around and I was like, let's have those moments. So we went out last night, and because they've been helping me with some chores in the house, I bought them some ice cream. My daughter came back from camp. It's so amazing hearing, especially considering what happened to the camp in Texas, tragedy. My daughter went away and did a lot of praying, a lot of time with like-minded individuals. It really is amazing in the US that you still have that, and that the kids can still have that little bit of innocence. And by the way, I was because I listen to, when I'm doing work, when I'm doing my woodworking, I listen to 80s music, and I came along a song, and it used to drive me bonkers. Like, these songs used to drive me bonkers in the 80s. I didn't like them, and I kind of appreciate them a lot more now. I was listening to Billy Ocean and Love Really Hurts Without You. It's such a great banging track, just so optimistic and happy. And I used to, Billy Ocean did my head in a little bit when in the 80s, like, get out of my dreams, get into my car. I thought it was a horrible lyric. Just bad. But you realize that actually Billy Ocean had a bunch, like Caribbean Queen is a great song. When the Going Gets Tough was just so overplayed. But Caribbean Queen's a banger, right, Courtney? That's a banging tune. It's like Sade back in the day. Your love is king. Like the way she did that. And I was like, oh, Joe's made it. Now I listen back and I'm like, oh, brilliant. Smooth Operator. What a tune. There's nothing like that now. Are we getting old? Are we getting old now that we're like, they don't make their songs like they used to? Right, well, all right, we can get back onto some 80s vibes in a little while, but I wanted to talk about something that happened recently. Now, I think that most of us, most fair-minded Americans right now, we just want justice. Honesty and truth. We haven't even got there yet. We haven't even got there. And honesty and truth is like, listen, you don't understand. I am saying this. We're not too sure about that here in the UK. What we're not sure about is the strange lurking snake that allegedly appears in Mrs. O's trousers and Madame Macron. That's another mystery. The Macron thing, the Michelle Obama thing, I think that's silly. The Macron thing, that's a little bit more interesting. It's a bit weird. But of course, Honesty and Truth on Sunday for 10 English pounds gets the first lot of sparkles. I'm just saying she gets the first lot of sparkles. Yeah, I know everyone's like, I'm not. But listen, I honestly feel, apart from my neck, which seems to have got a little bit better, but I'm still going to have surgery. So you're going to have to, I might have to do the show with a neck brace on. I can't let my people down, but I don't feel old at all. I really don't. It's weird, isn't it? It's weird. But you can't say like 50 is not like, I remember thinking 35 years old is ancient, and now I'm 52. I'm like, I don't feel like that is old. And then you think, well, when people talk about people being elderly, I think I told you that an elderly man came around, he was 60, and I'm like, what? That is not elderly. All right, I'm going to add something to this because this was a bit of an eye-opener. Right? Tulsi Gabbard reveals historic intelligence plot. Right, so we're going to go into this. Look, I'm going to read it for you guys because this is...
You want to go for a ride? Sounds like a great idea.
What is that? Oh, no. No ads. No ads. No ads. No. No ads. All right, Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard. I'm just saying, who was the one that was a big fan from the beginning? I'm just saying I was right. I'm getting that a lot recently, right? Detailed striking findings from declassified documents released Friday claiming to showcase overwhelming evidence that an Obama-era cabal laid the groundwork for what would be the years-long Trump collusion, Russia collusion probe after the 2016 election. None of us surprised by this. All right. The implications of this are frankly nothing short of historic, Gabbard said. Sorry, she's going to get it every single time. On this week's Sunday Morning Futures. Over 100 documents that were released on Friday really detail and provide evidence of how this treasonous conspiracy was directed by President Obama. We all knew it. Just weeks before he was due to leave office after President Trump had already gotten elected. This is not a Democrat or Republican issue. This is an issue that is so serious it should concern every single American because it has to do with the integrity of our democratic republic, she continued. All right, now. All right, I'm going to read a little bit more of that in a minute, but first point I want to make is we need to stop this lull between the election and someone coming into the White House. We can't trust these people anymore. If they can do it in the UK the next day, we can. There's no reason Why we have to have this grace period while someone waits and destroys evidence. These people are despicable human beings. Now, I know this might sound really stupid, but not. President Trump bombed Russians. He bombed them in Syria. It was like, there are Russian troops there. And they were like, no, we have no Russian troops, honestly. Now, again, if you have half a brain, which I'm beginning to think that Democrats don't even have half a brain, you would look and say, actually, Trump is Putin's worst nightmare. Because he's a man after his own heart, in the sense that he's a strong man. He's a masculine dude that isn't going to get pushed around. And we all knew this. Again, we have been gaslit so much by this administration, the Biden administration, the Obama administration, been gaslit so much by them. And we're like, hang on a minute, you think that Trump is going to get involved in Russia? Like, why would you think that? Now, I will say this, and I've said it over and over, Russia is not our enemy, guys. Russia is not our enemy. I don't care what anybody says. Now, does that mean that they don't spy on us? Yeah, they do. But you know who else spies on the USA? The UK. Everybody spies on everybody else, guys. They just do. But could Russia be an ally? Yes. They're not communists. I would say that we have more of an issue for them with communists in the United States. I'd be worried if I was Russia of the influence of communists in the United States. It's bad. Excuse me. Oh, I was trying to force that down. I was trying to force that yawn down, but that was spooky cookie. Listen, you guys can compliment me all you want. I think you look really great no matter what your age. Praying for you. Yeah, you know what? I don't care. I'm going to do a Trump. If people want to flatter me, I love it. Right? I'm not going to be shy about it. I'm not. So, you know, when we were, let's just take our minds back, back to when Trump was running. Firstly, it's weird how everyone said he was a Democrat. It's weird how all the talk show hosts loved him, didn't they? They all loved Trump. They had him on. They were like pulling his hair, all that kind of stuff. They loved him. All right. Isn't it weird? And then he got elected, or it looked like he was getting elected. He became the nominee. And then he just absolutely slapped the shit out of Hillary Clinton. Because you'll be in jail. Just one of the greatest one-liners of all time. Very reminiscent of Ronald Reagan and his one-liners, his zingers, right? Very, very good on his feet. Thank you, Michelle. You are awesome. Everyone, if you're not following my friend Michelle Smith on X, you should. She is doing God's work here in Texas. She's really one of the great people. Oh my goodness me. Look who else. Jim is in the house. But Jim is at Edge C Corp. Where are you? Edge CG Group or Edge C Group. Please go and follow him as well. I've got your book right here. I have not forgotten. I am going to give it a plug. I promise you. Joan Lovelace in the house. Matthew, you are young and your beautiful brood keeps you younger. I'm loving this. I just think I should have a Sunday Matthew Marsden appreciation session to just fluff up my ego a little bit. And Joan, of course, gets the sprinkles. She's all sprinkled out, I think, Jonah. Jonah's got sprinkles everywhere. It's crazy. Yeah, thank you, my brother. Jim is amazing. We love Jim. Wow, I've got some amazing people on my thread today. Well, I always do anyway, but all right. So let's go back to Trump. Do you remember when all that stuff was going on? Like I said, stuff was going down in Syria, and the Russians were like, we don't have Russian fighters there. And everyone was like, yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. You have Russian fighters there. And Trump bombed the crap out of them. That's not really the actions of a guy that's in bed with Russia, is it now? And look, I've had this with some friends of mine that used to be in the CIA, like former CIA guys, Special Activities Division guys, and they cannot get past the idea of communist Russia, USSR. They can't get them. They cannot move on from it. And I love them, but they still think of Russia as in the USSR. It's not like that anymore. And need I say that Putin, for the most part, takes care of the Russian people. The Russian people love him. And again, this is the cardinal sin. This is the cardinal sin to say this. Have you seen the streets of Russia? There are very few rapes. There are very few piles of trash. They take pride in their country. Now, I'm not going to wade into the Ukraine and all that stuff. What I will say about the Ukraine is Burisma. We all know about Joe Biden when he was vice president going over there and basically strong-arming the guy out who was investigating Burisma. Everyone kind of forgets that. And the truth is, Ukraine was probably the most corrupt Western country in the planet, on the planet. It was. We all know this. We all know there was dodgy stuff going over there. So when it comes to oh my gosh, we've got a troll. I'll deal with the troll in a minute. I'll do the troll. Let me deal with the troll in a minute. Clicks his fingers. So I look there and I go, okay, I don't know what Russia has on the Ukraine. I don't know what the Ukraine is doing, to be honest. There's no way that I can look at them and think that they are a lawful country. Does that mean that they should put all these men to death fighting in a pointless war that's just going to end and fizzle out pretty soon? Because, listen, I had a friend of mine who's a Green Beret, and he told me like 2 years ago that they were running out of bodies. Like they didn't have enough men to fight the war. And Russia's got however many. All right. You've caught my attention. I don't know why they do this, but let's deal with this. Amber. There are tons of pictures and videos of Trump hanging out with Epstein, the most famous PDF. They were close friends for decades. That is an utter lie. They were not close friends. We know that when the FBI was investigating Epstein, that Trump actually helped them. See, you got to understand something. I can talk a little bit from this. Like if you went around and you looked at the pictures of people that I had my picture taken with, thousands and thousands and thousands of people, especially if you are in a certain group. Now, the group that I was in was acting and movies and music. So, you know, you can dig and you can find pictures of me with all kinds of people. People come up and go, hey, take a picture, click, 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 whatever. Trump is a billionaire, right? Trump is a billionaire who lives in Florida as well as New York, Epstein was a billionaire that lived in Florida and New York. You don't think that their paths aren't going to cross? I mean, this is just silly. Secondly, if you think the Democrats, who have been doing their best to throw Trump in jail and to say bad things about him for 8 years, you think that they wouldn't have leaked that shit out? That they are the most corrupt people on the planet. You don't think that they wouldn't have leaked that out about Trump? You are absurd. You are absurd, and your Trump derangement syndrome has got the best of you. So step back, okay? Probably go feed one of your 30 cats. But just stop with the silliness, because this is very, very silly. So that's the first thing. Let's have a look at the other one. Donald Trump is very ill. He looks terrible. His face is swollen. He's covering large bruises with his makeup slurring, not golfing. He has a difficult time walking. Epstein, he won't last 4 years. Again, Trump is tweeting at 3 o'clock in the morning. The dude never misses a step. He flies all over the world. He's like the Energizer Bunny at his age, right? Is he getting older? Yeah. Is he going to have the trappings of what an older person, what an older gentleman goes through? Yeah. But you guys didn't give a flying fuck about a guy that couldn't even think straight, that had to be directed off stage because he was so much of a walking, lobotomized robot, right, that he didn't know which way, and he even read on the teleprompter full stop or, you know, what, end of paragraph. And you guys didn't have a problem with that. We don't give a shit. Right? Just make it clear. I don't care right now if Trump was literally being held up by Jim Henson. I don't give a shit. And you guys have absolutely no standing to argue with us about how fit Donald Trump is. And guess what? I hope nothing happens to Donald Trump. But if it does, we got J.D. Vance in the wings, and good luck with that. You're looking at another 12 years of Republican governance. Do you know why? Because you guys are a bunch of communist crazies, right, that put illegal aliens above American citizens. And we're done with it. It's not happening anymore. We don't care what you have to say. You have weaponized language so much that calling someone a racist doesn't matter anymore. Nobody cares. It doesn't mean anything. We're all Teflon now. All it means when you call someone a racist is, oh, I don't like what you are saying. It doesn't work anymore. Nobody cares. So you can come on and clutch your pearls and start the next narrative, right? Is, oh, Trump is ill. Trump is ill. Don't care. It doesn't matter. Trump is old. Don't care. Still the president, still your president. They could be walking him around with his brain in a fucking jar, as far as I'm concerned. It doesn't matter after what you guys did over the past few years. And now, let's, instead of digressing onto this about Trump, why don't you look back at the fact that the Obama administration actually undermined your freedom? Because here's the thing. We care about everyone's freedom. The left only cares about power and what they want to do. If I found out that the Republicans were fiddling in the elections, we would call them on it. I have been absolutely vocal about the Epstein files. And I think that the Trump administration has completely fudged it. What have you ever seen even as much as one Democrat come on and say, Joe Biden, he's lost it. Clearly, he's lost it. No, they didn't even care. Like they were telling us that he was compos mentis and super smart. And look at how fit he is, even though he runs like this. He runs like a weirdo. Falls off his bike. Timber. No, he's the fittest, most sane, most smartest president ever. That's what you lot said. And then all of a sudden, when you realize that he couldn't actually, he was like rebooting in the middle of his speeches, right? You could see him like the little pinwheel of death going around in his pupils like that, as he was like, he couldn't restart his brain. All of a sudden, you threw him under the bus and put Kamala in. And she is one of the dumbest human beings I have ever had the pleasure of watching on television. She's dumb and she's unlikable. You guys didn't care about that either. So forgive us if we just don't give a shit what you have to say. I don't care. And I'm telling you, the majority of the people on here don't care either. Does that mean that we're not going to turn around and say, hey, listen, this is wrong. The way they handle the Epstein thing is wrong. It is. And I'm not going to back off that. Because when they gave the things, that binder to my friend Chad Prather, a bunch of other people, made him look like idiots. There was nothing in it. And that people need to be held accountable. By the way, there's also this thing where people are going, everyone's giving Donald Trump a pass on vaccines. No, I don't know anyone that's giving him a pass on vaccines. Honesty and truth in the house. Russians are the worst enemies? No. It's not a Cold War anymore. That was done and dusted. The new war is religion. God is great. He will rise his soldiers to get peace on earth. I am seeing now more than ever in the UK that there are massive deep-seated problems. Massive. And it is all rooted in Islam. We'll get there in a minute. Look at my peeps having a good time, chatting away. Amber, are you going to just keep going on? The GOP has wanted Epstein files for years. Yeah, we have. Did you? Funny that, right? Did you? But now it seems that very likely Trump is in them. They suddenly don't care about them anymore. That's absolutely not true. Again, do you just hear this narrative in your head and you just fill in the blanks? I don't know anybody who just wants to move on from the Epstein files. You guys were never interested in it. You didn't give a shit that Biden showered with his daughter. All of a sudden, you're going to come on clutching your pearls. It doesn't work with us. It doesn't work. It's like when people come on and they start arguing about religion. Oh, Christians. I'm like, all of a sudden, you're an expert in Christianity, are you? No, we don't care. We don't care. You guys set the benchmark, right? We're just fighting back like that. You've had years and years and years of spouting your shit and saying and doing things and nothing coming back the other way. All the time while our side, who has, by the way, has all the guns, has the smartest people, and actually has the moral people, and we've all over and over and over again said, no, we're better than this. We're better than this. Well, guess what? We're not better than it. And now you mess with the bull, you get the horns. Right? So you're going to have the shit kicked out of you, figuratively, for the next 8 years. And it couldn't happen to a bunch of people who want to trans your kids and lie and sell our country out to foreign nations. All right? We don't care. You built this. I'll tell you this. There is not one person on this thread that gives a shit about being called racist anymore. If you'd have gone back 10 years, it would have mortified them. They don't care. Nobody cares what you have to say. Good grief. Can I ask you guys, why is it because Trump was a lefty and now he's a Republican? I always said this from the very beginning. You can ask my friend Matt Peterson. I said Trump will become the most Republican president in history because he's just going to keep doubling down on what he says. And when he sees the reaction of the other side, he's going to be like, no, well, you tried to kill him, right? You guys tried to kill him. That will radicalize a guy and make sure he chooses a side. Why is it that they are so obsessed with him to the point that it just consumes their life? I mean, you're seeing it now, they're wicked and nasty people that are coming on and saying, what will they do when he dies? You're like, he's not Jesus. He's a politician. I guess it'll be like any other politician that died. Not like you guys. The problem is the Overton window has shifted so far that the left has made it so the conservatives just don't give a shit anymore. They are out of F's to give about your opinion. And they're that close to actually just taking it that little bit further. Nobody cares. People are just coming out. Listen, not everyone's as stupid as I am when I stood up against the vaccine and when I spoke out about my faith. Now everybody's doing it. Everyone's saying, I'm done. I've got to that point where I'm not going to hide my fire under a bushel anymore. This has gone too far. Okay, should we talk to Amber again? It's so funny how they like put hearts in. It's like, look, I'm such a nice person. But I love is love. Let me trans your kids. Love is love. All right, when someone adores a spiteful felon, do you want to go into that? Do you really want to go into that? Because you see, we can go into all the different attacks that he had, because that brings us nicely onto actual crimes, which is what I'm talking about right now with the Obama administration, where they actually actively worked to undermine President Trump. We all knew it. We all knew what the deep state was. That's why he couldn't do anything. But we didn't know how deep it went, did we? We really didn't know. And now what you're seeing is these people, like Amber, should actually be shocked and say, they should be going, this is just not right. I don't want to win this way. But here's the thing. They want a man in a woman's race to win. They don't give a shit that it's immoral to do that, to have a man against a woman. They don't care about that. So do you think they care about this? They don't care because, guys, power is all that they are concerned with because they are communists. They're so stupid, they don't even realize of what they're doing is they're going to enslave themselves. It's the same thing about the Muslim women over in the UK who are dressed. They're all dressed like, there's one in particular, very pretty, dressed, really nice like Western women. What are you voting for? They're going to put you in a giant burlap sack with a slit for eyes. That's what they want for you. And I'm fed up of pretending that it's otherwise. If you look at the way, let me just put it like this. Right, because they're going, it's racist, you mean this. Firstly, Islam isn't a race, right? It's not, so it's not racist. Secondly, here's the thing. If you look at the way that places, I've said it over and over, I'm an admirer of Saudi Arabia, right? Why? Because Saudi Arabia loves its own people and it understands that if you are going to come into that country, you are going to adhere to the Saudi rules. I've got no problem with that. But have you seen the way they deal with Muslim radicals? They don't have the politically correct bullshit that we have to deal with. They're just like, boom. Same with the Qataris. All those countries out there deal with radicals, boom, like that. Our country doesn't because of some weird guilt. I don't have any guilt. Let's just go through this. I think someone just did a super chat. Spider in the here schnizzle. Opinions are like assholes. Everyone's got one, and you know that is the truth. Only mine are always right. Don't tell my wife I said that. So let's have a look here a little bit more into this this article, right? Document shared by Gabbard. Telling you right now, she is going to be vice president to JD Vance. Watch. Documents shared by Gabbard's office claim that before the 2016 election, there was no evidence showing Russia tied to directly alter vote counts. Wow! I am so surprised. Are you surprised? Because here's the thing. I hate to tell the leftists this, but we want to win fair and square. We don't want Russia to be involved, even if it means our guy winning. Do you understand? We don't want the cheats to be involved in the races. You do. We don't want the men pretending to be women, fighting women and breaking their orbital eye sockets. You do. And when we come to elections, we want to win it fair and square. All right? We would all have a problem with that. You ask on here, would you have a problem if Russia interfered in our elections for our guy to win? Because I would. Hey, Tom. How you doing? However, members of the intelligence community later suggested that Russian President Vladimir Putin wanted to help Trump win. Why would he want that? Why would he want that? If you just look from a logical point of view, Trump is America first, make America great again, put America above every other country. Why would Russia want Trump to win? It doesn't make sense. These people are just like retarded. Intelligence community, whatever that means. Gabbard argues the narrative shift was politically motivated rather than based on new findings. See, here's what happened. My friend Tim Clemente talked to me about this. That there are so many deep state Obama appointees that are ideologues in those top levels that a lot of the guys, like your regular folk, your regular generals, your regular, like lieutenant colonels and colonels, they're coming up in the army. They're like, I'm not going to kiss their ass, so I've got to be out. I'm not playing that game. So you had a lot of people leave. So, of course, the sycophants stay and get promoted. Creating this piece of manufactured intelligence that claims that Russia had helped Donald Trump get elected contradicted every other assessment that had been made previously in the months leading up to the election that said the exact opposite, that Russia had neither the intent nor the capability to try to hack the United States election. Gabbard told host Maria Bartiromo. So the effect of what President Obama and his senior national security team did was subvert the will of the American people, undermining our democratic republic and enacting what would essentially be a years-long coup against Donald Trump, who was duly elected by the American people. Put your hand up like that if you knew that was the case. We all knew. Obama, honestly, is one of the worst presidents in our history. He destroyed race relations, destroyed them. Hang on a second. I don't feel like I'm fired up enough. I need to summon my coffee. We knew this. We knew this. Now, I put on there, I hate to say, I did put Obama to be jailed. He's not going to be jailed. But what matters to him, because he's a narcissist, in my opinion, is he needs his legacy destroyed. So listen to this. This is in the Fox News article. Evidence released by Gabbard office implicated then National Director of National Intelligence James Clapper, former CIA Director John Brennan, former FBI Director James Comey, and former National Security Advisor Susan Rice, among others. Now, for those guys, that is a different thing altogether. And let me ask you, I'll ask my buddy Tom and any other veterans that are in this group right now, what does it mean to subvert the will of the American people? What does that mean? I think that, and this is very encouraging to me that they're going after these people, and I think they need to go to jail. And I don't want them to go to jail because I don't agree with them politically. I want them to go to jail because you would go to jail if you did what these people did. I want them to go to jail because of what happened to the January the 6th people. And I don't mean that in a revenge kind of way. What I mean is there needs to be a reset of truth and justice in this country, and we cannot allow people to get away with this anymore. It's literally just encouraging bad behavior. And I think that our country has been sold out. All these billions and billions of dollars that keep getting sent abroad, for these foreign wars. By the way, I was critical of the Trump administration sending weapons to Ukraine. I am, right, Crazy Cook? I'm just saying. Yeah, I don't think that Carter was a bad person. I think he was an idiot, even though he was a genius. But you know what I mean? You can be very, very smart and also be an idiot. The last boomer says, invest in precious metals, lead and brass. Always want to invest in brass, brother. Always want to, yeah. Look, we need, I don't care what the optics are. Again, guys, the left pushed us this far, right? We don't care about the optics anymore. We don't care. We just want the truth. And again, this is from our Brits out there. This keep calm and carry on bullshit is over. It's over. There's no keeping calm and there's no carrying on. And I think that what happened in the last election in the United States is we got like that close away from getting someone who isn't as smart as this pickle as president. This is what happens when you have kids in the house and they leave shit on your desk. Ben for £10. I spent a lot of time working in Manchester until the mid-2000s. What are your memories of the city back in the 90s? Have you heard, seen how it is today? Example on Charlie Veach's YouTube channel. Right, that's, by the way, how you doing, Ben? I'll talk about the UK a little bit. So when I was in Manchester in 1997 to 98, it was magical. I mean, it was magical for me. And look, I'm a Midlands boy, I'm from West Bromwich, from Walsall, around that area. And so I'm a Midlands boy. And, back then it was Manchester United everything. Like Manchester United. And the show that I was on, Coronation Street. And I actually always had a little bit more of a like affinity for Liverpool because I was a big Beatles fan. I love the Beatles. And I liked, growing up in the 70s, watching Liverpool Football Club playing Europe. Everyone kind of just went down and watched the TV and watched them play. It was a huge thing. But when I moved to Manchester, it was, Oasis had just exploded. There was like the Manchester scene. I can't remember what they called it now. Joy Division, all those kind of bands coming out of Manchester. It was really great. Hacienda. And Manchester was like, you had Moss Side, which was always very dodgy. And when I moved into Salford Quay, so I was on the water there, and I could see Manchester United, Old Trafford, from my house. And it was a very magical time for me, and I loved Manchester. And now it's been overrun by immigrants again. It doesn't look the same. From people I know that they feel on edge. By the way, I got called a white supremacist and a paid shill for Israel, which was really interesting. right? Because Israel's never paid me a thing. I kind of have a problem when people want to kill a whole group of people because of their ethnicity. Oddly enough, yeah, but somehow I'm the racist. It's very strange. I do actually think that Israel is like kind of like a beacon of freedom in the Middle East. Do I think that they do everything right? Probably not. But does any country? I certainly think that you got no leg to stand on if you're still holding hostages 2 years later and you go around and just slaughter people at a music festival. What would you do? What would you do if someone parachuted in and killed your children? I'd want every single one of them dead. I don't know. Maybe that's a radical position. But I think when innocent people are killed, I'm sorry, you take the gloves off and you take care of business. And I'm one of the only actors, whether I can call myself that anymore, but I'm one of the only actors that think like that, which is really interesting because the Jews in Hollywood still seem to hire the people that hate them. I don't understand that. But Spider Unlimited. Obama was the president that said it's okay not to take accountability for individual actions and blame placed on others, and made race relations like walking on eggshells, lowered the standard immensely. That's pretty much a perfect post, right? Obama. Do you remember when the cop, when he said about the college professor in Boston, the police behaved stupidly and he didn't know. Excuse me, I have a delivery. I have my coffee. Thank you very much. See, I have my minions. That was the beginning of it, right? And then everyone like, by the way, I have like my kids are, you could say they're half British, half Maltese. I like to say that they are 100% American and there's no hyphens in my family. My oldest son, though, is half, you'd say like half black. Connor. Was Obama as much white as he was black? From where I was sitting, he was half white and his mom raised him. His dad wasn't around. Why is it always like he's the first black president? He wasn't at all, really, was he? It's always puzzled me. There's just like negating of that side of who you are. Even if that person, the person that raises you, is of one or the other race, right? You don't just completely dismiss the other side of it. You know, we make a big effort in our household of, you know, my kids understanding their heritage, but also understanding that they are Americans. But their dad is a Brit. So you want to know a little bit about where your parents come from, but they're Americans, first and foremost. That's it. They're not hyphen. They're not Maltese American, British American. They're American. That's it. And I want to thank you guys. You guys are on fire today. This is awesome. I think that it's, you know what I'm recognizing? Is that people are ready. People are ready. Like, if you would have been in Hollywood when I was, like all those years ago, that's what it was like. What the way it is now here out in the open is what it was like back then behind closed doors. You see what I'm saying? I'll be sitting there going, what? I one of these things is not like the other. You know, I was like, I don't fit in here. I have a problem when they make everything about race. Either way, I have a problem when they talk about half of America, and this is before I was even political, like there's some kind of like morons. But I think that people are at the point now where they're like, all right, it's game on. I'm done with this. Look at why. That the fact that I haven't stood up and said anything, where has it got me? I think this is a real huge thing. You know, people are like, hang on a second, I didn't say anything when they were saying this person, that person was racist, or that my beliefs are racist, or my beliefs are wrong, or that, where has it got me? Nothing. It's got you absolutely jack shit. Because they still call it you anyway. Doesn't matter whether it's true or not. I told you guys, when I did Anacondas, someone wrote in the review, Matthew Marsden's British accent is terrible. I have never forgotten that. As in, people are going to say things about you regardless. Doesn't matter what the truth is, they're going to say it. And for the most part, for our lives, normally, because it's a good thing, right? Normally those things like keep us in check, right? You don't want to be called a racist, right? So you probably shouldn't be racist. Now, you don't have to be racist. They still call you racist because they don't like what you're saying. Sorry. Those days are gone. Nobody gives a shit. Honestly, tell me, if someone called you racist tomorrow, what would you do? It would used to be like, what? Why are you saying that? Like, what did I do anything? Like, unwittingly? Now you're like, whatever. I don't care. I don't care. Honesty and truth. Again, got to go, but any government that was in charge in 2020 enforced the nonsense and evil meds are totally corrupt and need to be in court. By the way, totally memory hold that stuff, right? Need to be in court to account for medical data coming out and reasons why we know. Yeah. We need accountability for all these things. For all these things. I do believe last boomer. When I was a deputy, I was called racist all the time. Why am I not surprised, boomer? Why am I not surprised? By the way, did you see today on Breitbart, there were like these anti-ICE protesters and the cops are just like kicking the shit out of them. And I'm like, I cannot like this enough. That we've got into this mentality. By the way, here's the difference. If you resist arrest, expect to get a good kicking from the police. I don't care. You see them, they're like, no. And the cops are like, do you know what? I'm done with this. I'm done. About time. Those Just Stop Oil assholes that are blocking the way for people, when they super glued their hands to the ground, they should just pull their hands off. Just like that. I don't care. You're an idiot. Tarquin and Tabitha, you don't get to mess with other people's days. You don't. We need to return back to common decency. And do you know what that needs? It needs strong men. It's strong men. Every dude that is on here, every man that is on here, it's up to you. It's up to you. And as far as the women are concerned, you've got to support your men, right? But the emphasis is not on the women, it's on the men to grow a pair of balls and go out there and do what needs to be done. Because we are not protecting our kids and our women. It's not happening. And that to me is a horrible, that is your job. That is your job as a man. Protect the family. Protect those that aren't as strong as us. And listen, I'm getting older now, right? I'd still go down swinging. But you by the way, I have to say, did you guys see what happened in Epping? Let me tell you something. East Londoners, the old school East Londoners, you do not want to mess with them. And a lot of those people have actually migrated out now to Epping. Those people have had enough. And I've said this over and over. One person assaulting one of our girls is enough. Is enough. And let me say something to all the police in the UK, because I come from, two of my uncles are cops, my cousin's a cop. You guys need to grow a pair of balls and either resign or do your job. Did you see how they rammed through and put that one person? They didn't care about the white guy at the front running him over. How long was that immigrant in the country for? I'm sorry, guys. I'm radicalized by this. I am radicalized by it. I don't. If you are not radicalized by gangs of people raping your daughters and then people covering up, I don't know what you can be radicalized about. Like, why anyone gives a shit about the price of eggs? It is unbelievable to me what is going on in the UK. It is over in the UK if you don't fight back. It's as simple as that. It's over. It is absolutely over. The politicians are full of shit. Yeah, here's the thing. And I keep telling you this, guys, and I'm sorry. Everyone on this channel, and this is going to get me riled up. I keep talking about liking and subscribing my channel. And why did I say it? I said because it means that you are active. It means that you are involved. It means that you are, you know, that people can see that these things matter. Our problem is we don't get involved, and I do not want to hear anymore. We've got families. I know all that. I get all that. What is important? If you don't have a country, all your families, let me tell you something. The UK, there's going to be a steady stream of asylum seekers from the UK to the US. That is what you're going to have to go through eventually. This is just a fact. You guys still there? Here's a little bit of a problem with the feed. Maybe the overlords don't like me talking about these things. Guys, we have to fight for our civilization. Like, literally, that's what it is. Because you've got a bunch of people invading the country that want to turn Great Britain into the shithole they came, and they will use every trick in the book. And there's either going to be, there's three ways out, right? Number one, you make a vote now and you start deporting, right? The next election, you got to do what you got to do, right? Number two is you're going to be taken over. You're going to be taken over and you're going to be subjugated. That's just a fact. You know why it's not going to work in America? Because there are 350 million guns in this country, and there are enough people that love God enough to say, over my dead body. Third option is literally there's going to be a strong man come in and they're going to take over the country. Do not think that what happened in Germany, and this is why people get this wrong. They get it completely wrong, right? They're like, well, you know, Trump, look at what happened in Germany in the 1930s, man. No, you want to know what is more comparable to Germany in the 1930s is what's going on in the UK. Is you have an indigenous population that are being completely sidelined. They're made to feel worthless. That's what happened with the Germans after World War One. When they took over the Alsace region, that is when, and they said, no, you can't have that. You know, we're taking that part of the country away from you. We're doing this, we're doing that. It made the Germans feel like shit. And it's way worse in the UK than what it was like in Nazi Germany. Now, if I thought that any of the political parties that were around now were heading down that route, I'd say, hang on a minute. But none of them are. In fact, they're too weak right now. They're not strong enough to take hold anyway. But that doesn't mean that it won't happen eventually. They're not there yet. But you'd be surprised how people vote when things are really on the line. I'll tell you this right now. Americans, and I want to explain this to Brits, and I can't wait. My sister's coming over this week. I can't wait for her to see. this country, but Americans still have this thing about 1776 in them. There's this rebellious streak in Americans that it's amazing, right? Like, I love it. I love that rebellious streak. And they will just go, no, I'm not doing that anymore, and you're not going to make me because I'm a free man. And they're willing to die for that, like, truly. It hasn't gone away. And when you think about it, it's only been 250 years, right? So it's not like that far away. But Americans are like, no, you're not going to tell me what to do. They don't have, like, Brits have a little bit more of that polished kind of, there's both a sense of, like, order. I know that when I came over here, I realized that I'm, like, will never take a drink before getting, now that's a good version, like getting behind the wheel of a car. I won't even have one beer. But I'm allowed a beer and to drive, but I just don't do it, right? But the rebellious Americans go, yeah, have a beer. It's great. Have a beer. You can drive. That's freedom. That's what you can do. It doesn't mean you can take 20, if you know what I mean. But there is that kind of free nature that is in Americans. And I think that what you saw in the last election was Americans understanding that they're being oppressed, and they do not like that one bit. They do not like that one bit, and they will not stand for it at all. Now, the first step is to do it at the ballot box, which we've seen. But the mentality is already there. The mentality right now is you've got a bunch of people like on here, and they're like, I don't care what they have to say to me anymore. I don't care. Because the root of America is based in faith in God. They'll try and argue it away, but it's true. It's based in your rights that are endowed by your Creator to you. They cannot be taken away because they are rights. They're not privileges. I argue with people in the UK about this. They'll be like, no, we have free speech. We've got, look at this article in that the EU put together on human rights and human rights. No, that's very different to a right, like a inalienable right enshrined in the Constitution to free speech. They're not giving it to us, they're acknowledging it. You see what I'm saying? And to most Americans, to see what's gone on in the UK is so wrong. Praying outside an abortion clinic, gone. Can't pray in your own head. It's literally like Minority Report. The precogs are kind of telling you that, we know that you're going to do this really. But yet, when they say, hey guys, leave your weapons at the mosque. What? And the worst thing that could happen to these petty little tyrants in the UK, these cowards that are only interested in power. By the way, Starmer, all these guys, they'll all go off somewhere else. By the way, they also think that they're going to be at the top of the tree when all this shit goes down, and they're not. Are you ready for what it takes, UK? The football hooligan generation will save Great Britain, but it's going to get very bloody. I'm telling you right now, the people that are watching this that are British know what I'm saying is the truth. Do not think, and I keep saying this over and over and over again, do not think because we're a Western nation that we're not above devolving into chaos. It is right around the corner. And it's only when things get so desperate that these things get triggered. You are 5 minutes away from it. You've been gaslit. The frog has been boiled that you will allow people to come into the country and murder someone on the streets of Great Britain and not have that person hung. You have someone come into your country and murder one of your own people? What? I'm telling you right now, the British people have had, certainly my people who are the working class, have had enough. Because at the end of the day, it's just talking about safety. And this is above race. I've said it 1,000 times. When I say working class, I'm not saying white, although the white working class are completely downtrodden. But that means Indian working class, and it means black working class. It does. I always said this when I very first came to America. I said, you don't understand, like, we're not separated along the lines of race. We're separated along the lines of class. But I'll tell you this. I'll tell you what we are separated along. Lines of religion. I can tell you that. Lines of nationality. And by the way, don't ever accept this bullshit of asylum seeking. We all know it's a Trojan horse. We all know they're gaming the system. Again, it's one side goes, ha, we're willing to cheat. And the other side's like, no, we're not willing to cheat. And we're not going to acknowledge that you guys are cheating because surely you are honest. They should. I'm telling you, if I was Prime Minister of the UK, I'd bring back hanging. And if anyone, especially a illegal or someone coming into, well, there wouldn't be any coming in because I'd stop them all. I'd literally have machine gun turrets in Dover. You got a Type 42, Type 45 destroyer there that will put the fright up them. Nobody would come anywhere near the shores. The UK, people in the UK have got to be willing to go to jail to save their country. It's just the truth. Whether it happens now or whether it happens in 5 years' time, it's coming. Just the difference is you're going to be more outnumbered in 5 years' time. I don't want people from Tunisia or Iraq or Afghanistan or any of those war-torn countries. I don't want them in the UK. I don't want them in the USA. You can go through a process like everyone else, but you just do not. You want the best, right? Like you want the best scientists if they're going to come over and be productive. But the problem is the people that are coming over are not the productive ones. Charles is a complete mess. I mean, all you got to do is look at that family, right? I'm sorry. If you have discord like that in your family, then there's something wrong at the top. So what's going to happen, guys? Tell me, let me know. I mean, I have to be careful as well because it can upset members of my family when I say this. Some of them are like, yeah, we know you're right. I mean, can you imagine? I've got some great aunts that are like in their 90s. Can you imagine how different the country looks to them right now? And you can tell me whether you think it is better now than it was. You know, did you see the thing about BBC was like people were kind of mocking that kid. He was like, I'm dressing like the 1940s and I'm having everything. I'm like, all right, son, I get it. I get it. You know, he gets on his bike, rides to his tea room. I love it. I love it. Do you remember people go and you watch that kid? There's the one kid who watches the trains come, train spotting. Amazing. How innocent and sweet that is. I don't know if we're ever going to put that genie back in the bottle, but it's going to, unfortunately, like I said, it's going to, either it's gone, you're going to become a caliphate, you're going to elect someone who's going to come in and it's going to be rough as hell for years, or you're going to get an authoritarian come in. Those are the three options. You'll get an authoritarian to come in and you don't want that. Because then they'll be like, well, then you will get someone who is a real racist. And you will get someone who is like, doesn't look at the nuance. And that's the concern. But I would, Marsden Prime Minister, I would immediately deport anyone who came into the country from war-torn areas. Oh, he's coming in. Look, all right, come on. You had to have your little cameo, didn't you? Look, he had to come and have his cameo. Oh my gosh, dog. Is that it? He just came in, he was like, boom, I'm having my cameo and I'm out. Are you coming back again? Because he got very excited, didn't you? Oh, all right, he's just sitting down. Archer's like, no, I'm coming in, I'm licking your face. Honestly, he's like right in the way of my chair. This dog is amazing, to be honest. Like, I love him. Archer, he just wants to be with his dad. It's amazing. You know what he does? I've got to tell you what he does. I don't know how he manages it. He gets into my bedroom and everyone's like, where's Archer? He goes into my bedroom and closes the door in the bedroom. I don't know what, if anyone can tell me, anyone who's had dogs for a long time, like, he'd rather just be in my bedroom. Even if I'm not there, he wants to be in the bedroom. He doesn't get on the bed. He doesn't go up on the bed, because that's disgusting. He will sit and he'll protect the door. So I don't know why that is. I don't know why he does that, but he's amazing. Anyway, guys, I'm going to end talking a little bit about movies. Let's talk a little bit about hang on a second, Jane. Is Archer like Dad a 5-second wonder? Naughty. I'm going to talk a little bit about aliens. Hold on. Move over you. Oh, move over so I can move. My OCD means I have to be in the center of frame. So what shocked me yesterday about aliens, I've always loved that movie. I remember the first time I saw it, I loved it. And I watched it last night, and apart from a couple of like really cheesy, kind of dated special effects, which there's very few, the aliens look great. The set design looks great. The movie looks like better than movies that are being shot right now. I mean, he really, you know, that opening sequence where they open up the spacecraft and that thing comes in and it scans it. And it's totally like 1970s laser with dry ice, right? But it looks super cool. And it takes forever to set up them going to the island, to the planet. It takes them forever to set up them going to the planet. And it's great. And my kids watched it with me, even though they didn't see the first one. I wanted to watch the action one, like, you know, to kind of gauge, because they haven't seen these kind of. There's a lot of language in it, which I was a little bit like, but there's no nudity or sex in it, which is, you know, for me the real thing I want to avoid. But someone said today, yeah. It's a woke movie with all the diverse cast. No, let me explain something to you. When you put cast in that shouldn't be in that role, that is wokeness. When you start lecturing us on what we should think, that is wokeness. Casting a Hispanic female in a Marine role is totally not woke. Because if you think that it's however many years in the future, I hate to tell you guys, there's already female Hispanic Marines. So nobody even blinked at that when it came out. Think about that, 1986. Nobody even blinked at it because it wasn't woke. It was great storytelling, and we all were like, "Yeah, okay, I recognize that group." Especially if you ask Tom, who's a Marine. So again, great, strong female character, right? And there was never a real, someone's like Mary Sue, there's never a Mary Sue moment. There's the moment where the guy in charge, right, the lieutenant, panics and he can't deal with all of his guys getting killed. And she just goes, screw it, I'm going to get on with it. I'll tell you this, if there are any veterans in this group right now, they will tell you that they've seen commanding officers panic like that. And it was set up perfectly. They asked him how many missions he'd been on. He said, what was it? I don't know, like 30 simulated. How many combat drops? 2, including that one. They set it up. He's inexperienced. And she has seen what the alien can do. So when she gets in that, and by the way, my kids went, looks like a Cybertruck. I'm like, yes, it does. And that is why the Cybertruck is awesome. Gets in the armor personnel carrier and floors it. It's all totally believable. And I must have seen that movie, I don't know, I've seen it a lot. But in recent years, because I just enjoyed it, right? I just enjoyed it. Now I look at it as a filmmaker and look at all the setups. There's a part where, if you remember, she goes, hey, is there anything I can do? Like, I feel like I'm a spare part. And he goes, I can move the loader. You know, the thing, beep, beep. I can move the loader. James Cameron shows the airlock. It's just fantastic filmmaking. If you remember, he shows, and they're doing it. It's funny because as an actor, you can see when they're told, hey, listen, like, you got to do some background action, so make some shit up. And Vasquez is there, and she's like doing this weird, like, fighting stance like this. And I'm like, it totally looks like they said just like improv in the background because you won't be seen. And they have that little conversation, and then he pans down, or tilts down, and shows the airlock. And I'm like, it's just brilliant. What about Lance Henriksen as well? You kind of like, looking back, I'm looking at the performances and how great he was in that role, like how earnest he was. When he says, oh, that could never happen with our behavior inhibitors or whatever. Just such a great character. Even Michael Biehn, again, who's good in everything he's in, comes along and plays that role. Bill Paxton, game over, man! It's funny when a non-lead there's 2, here we go. There's 2 lines from that movie that have become, that everybody knows, that have become in modern folklore. One is, game over, man! And there's one more. What is it? And who says it? You all know it. And it is a fantastic line. Let me see. Who's going to be the first one to quote it? What the most quotable line from that movie is? I'm waiting. That's the one, Spider, right? Get away from her, you bitch. Such a great line. And it's all built up to that moment, right? Like, it's just pitch perfect that she has that. By the way, the one scene with the face hugger, I remember watching that in the theater and going, you know, like it had me on edge. Right, you know, when like she slams that gurney up against the wall and it's coming through and it's like that close to her and she's put, it's just amazing filmmaking. And the fight at the end, it looks great. I mean, you wouldn't think that's 1986, right? He directed that movie. It looks fantastic. The practical effects, the practical xenomorphs are amazing. All the performances are great. It's a perfect film. And you know the other part that that really gets me? Come on. Now tell me, did you get claustrophobia when he goes into that tube and he's shimmying down the tube and they weld him in? You're like, oh my God. If an alien comes in and he's stuck in there with the alien, it's over. Even the part when Newt is underneath and the queen alien's trying to get her, it's all the tension in it. Even I've watched it 1,000 times and it still gets you het up, right? It still gets you like, oh no, she's going to get her. And I've seen the movie loads of times, you know it's not going to get Newt. But it is, and the fact that like, another little character trait, right? You remember every one of those Marines where Vasquez, they go, okay, give me a firing pin or whatever it is. He hands over the firing pin. They just get another one out. And you're like, and I'll tell you these, yes, many veterans out there, there's always people like that they're like, I'm not going to listen to what they have to say because I want to be ready when the shit hits the fan. It is a superb piece of filmmaking. And look, I think that Terminator is a great movie. Aliens is a better movie. It's difficult because Terminator is the first one, right? And he wrote and directed and all that. I remember like thinking of like an unstoppable machine coming after you that you don't know, it could be anybody, like how terrifying that was. But then you look at T2 and Terminator 2 is, again, it's better than the first one. Terminator 2 is a unbelievably well-crafted film. And this is one of those cases where he writes the screenplay and he directs it. And he's a fabulous director, man. And I mean, he's got a giant ego on him, but you're kind of like, well, when you can do a movie like that, you are totally entitled to have an ego like that. I was like that with Michael Bay when I worked with Michael Bay. Everybody said he got an ego. I found him to be the nicest guy ever. He was always very cordial with me. I mean, you know, he got into it on set, but when you got a $250 million movie you're directing, there's a lot of pressure. But I always loved working with Michael Bay. And I think as a British actor, you get treated with a little bit more respect when you come in because they're kind of like, I don't know why that is. But and I think True Lies is another great movie. What is your code name? Boris. It's just such a great film. Although there is a mistake in that film, I believe at the beginning you can see the camera, but it's still a great film. I'm not a fan of the Avatar movies. I was like, meh, and I never saw Titanic. I know. I never saw Titanic. I know it's incredible, but yeah, True Lies was unbelievable, and it was a perfect role. It was like kind of James Bond for Arnold, wasn't it? But as a filmmaker, I don't think there's anybody that does tension like James Cameron. I mean, if you think about it, he managed in Aliens to hit the horror genre and the action genre. So you could argue that it's an action movie and not a horror movie. You could also argue that it's a horror movie and not an action movie. That is very difficult to do. And I think if you look at T2, most people look at T2 as an action movie, but it's also a horror movie. He's just brilliant at pacing, and his visuals are fantastic. Like I said, that if you think about the beginning of Aliens, you see her flying through space. You see her getting picked up. You see her going to the tribunal. You see her go back home. You see all that. It's slow. Then they get back on the. They're traveling right to the. I keep wanting to say island for some reason. They keep traveling to the planet. They get to the planet. They're investigating the planet. It's forever. Like, I'll tell you this right now. They will say in Hollywood, you've got to get, I said it yesterday on X, you got to get to the bodies. What I meant was you got to discover all those people within the first 10 minutes. There's no way that movie will get made in Hollywood today. Not a chance. And you know what? He sets up the characters perfectly. You know that Paul Reiser's one of these like corporate scumbags. You kind of know it at the back of your mind. He sets up the lieutenant as a coward. You know all the Marines are within the first like 4 minutes of meeting them. It's perfect. It's a perfect film. You know the other perfect film? Very different, but I guess it's action and horror, is Jaws. I'm going to do a whole thing on Jaws because Jaws is a utter masterpiece. And I think, again, it became a masterpiece out of an accident because Bruce the shark just kept sinking. So he had to find a way of shooting it. But that's Steven Spielberg. I think that Spielberg... Here's the thing. Could Spielberg have directed Aliens? Yeah, he could have. It would have been different, but he could have done it. We've seen it with War of the Worlds. He does that stuff really well. He does suspense really well. Could James Cameron have directed E.T.? I don't think so. Funny, innit? I think that Spielberg has a magic to him. He has a... It's very strange. He has this kind of wonder, this sense of wonder about him. And I love his movies. And I think that, you know, I mean, he got with the greatest movie composer of all time, John Williams. And I'll tell you this, there's nobody to touch those guys. When Spielberg is gone, there's no director that has come in that has captured what he can do. When Cameron goes, has anyone done sci-fi like him? No. But I think that we're gonna have a return back to character and practical effects. But anyway, we really do need it because we need that inspiration, you know. And I've really been getting into the 80s kick recently, as you guys know. Like I said, today I was driving to church this morning and I put on, just do a mental exercise with this. It was really weird. I put on that Billy Ocean song and I was like, what would it be like not to have a cell phone right now? Funny, innit? Like, just think about that. Put a song on from the 80s and drive down the street and pretend you don't have a cell phone and watch how less stress you have. It's amazing. One code, the most awesome. Says, hearing you name all these movies reminds me of how absurdly good we had it in the 80s. Yeah, we did. And there was the spectre of nuclear war over us, and we just had like fantastic movies and great songs. Like I said, I was listening the other day to Michael Jackson's Thriller. It's a perfect album. It is a perfect album. Almost every song is a hit. The production on them is ridiculous. And if you, I'll tell you who I love, and I really want to meet him because they're going to be coming here soon, and my friend's a friend of his. Now, if you listen to Steve Lukather's guitar playing on Thriller, and I mean on the whole album, he plays on the whole album. He's just amazing and such a humble guy. So anyway, guys, listen, I've done an hour and a half on Sunday. I've really, really enjoyed your company. I had a bit of a rant on there. We're not going to see Obama go to jail, but we do need to see these people be prosecuted. We can have our country back if we want it. And we can have the 80s back as well if we want them as well. And I think we do. So thank you for supporting the channel. Thank you for liking and subscribing, and for memberships. If you have a membership and you haven't re-upped your membership, I'm looking right now seeing all these nice stars. Please re-up your membership so our generous patrons can gift memberships to other people, and hopefully we can build the channel because we're going to need it, guys. We're going to need it. All right. So have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow at noon. And remember, not all actors are like this, I promise. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Bye-bye.